considering how contagious all the illnesses my puppy suffered from. I was just worried about people's health. I mean, this wasn't just my puppy got sick, I got sick. The night that I brought her home, she was licking, and I looked how swollen her vagina and her bottom were. First thing in the morning, the day after we picked her up, she went to the vet. He said that she had a bad infection in her vagina and on her bottom because she had been sitting in her own urine for so long that she had urine burns. And so they had to shave her down and put her on antibiotics. He said, maybe that's because she was in a transport for so many days and she was kept in a crate and wasn't let out. I said, well, I think she's coughing a little bit. So that's when we did a blood panel. She came back with Bordetella and canine influenza. My vet said they're contagious and I need to have my puppy quarantined and kept separate and to take certain precautions. And he told me it would be wise to inform the rescue. So I did. They came back and said, oh, it's got to be a false positive. And I said that to my vet, and my vet said, no, that is highly, highly unlikely. This isn't a false positive. But regardless, we did do a second test 4 days later, and it came back with the same results. So I said to Wagmor, well, I just think that you should know. I think if one has it, the whole litter has it, right? If they're in a transport for days and days coming across the country. So they told me they had no other cases of anything like this. They had no other reports. They had no other complaints. And I said, okay. And I just left it at that. About 8 to 10 days after adoption, I have ringworm all over my neck and my side and my body. We went back to my vet to see if she's got ringworm, and she lit up at the vet's like she had been dipped in radioactive fluid. My vet said that he's never seen a worse case in his 50 years in animal medicine. And he said this puppy absolutely had this her whole life. This is not something that could have just been picked up because the severity of it. His words were, which I texted Wagmor, was it is imperative that every single adopter from this litter of puppies is contacted. Once this happened, and I kept saying to Wagmor to contact the other doctors, and I would assume that I would have received the email they said they sent out. Well, I didn't receive anything. And so once my husband had it on his nose, and then once the next door neighbor also showed up with spots of it, I immediately reached out to the adopter who, when I was in there picking up my pup, the other adopter was there and we exchanged numbers so that we could get them together when they're older and see how they grow up and if they look the same. And so I reached out and I said, how's your puppy? She said, oh, she's got kennel cough. And I said, oh, mine too. And I said, do you happen to have any rashes on your body? She's like, no, I don't have anything. And then the next morning I got a text saying, I've got something all over my body. And she sent me a bunch of pictures. And I was like, oh, that's ringworm as well. I said, have you gotten any notification from Wagmor? I alerted them about this. Did you hear anything from them or any follow-up? And she said, no, absolutely not. Her and her husband got ringworm, such a severe case of ringworm. So did their children that live outside the home. So did their other dogs. And then my neighbor's kids. So as this is happening and I'm talking to Wagmor and Wagmor saying, no, there's no other cases. We haven't had any contact from anybody. You're an isolated case. And then I hear from the other adopter, that is not to be the case. The adopter sent me emails that she had sent Wagmor and even Wagmor's reply to her. At this point, I'm livid because I wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't asking to return my dog. I wasn't asking for money back. I was just asking them to do the proper notification to other people that adopted a dog from the same litter of puppies. And so they're lying to me and telling me that it's an isolated, they didn't have any other contacts or any other information. And knowing that that wasn't to be true, that's when I got really, really upset.